Okay, here's a quick follow-up. As promised, I said that I would post the ignition waveforms or ignition patterns that I recorded on that 2.1 cylinder Vanagon engine that had number 2 valve sealing issues. And you can already see from the stationary capture here the spark line rising very high at the end. That's 6 kV here. Let me just press play. You can see it's always consistent the whole time. The high spike line here. Obviously I'm changing RPMs, that's why the peak changes. I think this is right at idle again, and we're going to snap it again. But you can see it, number 1, this firing order here, 1, 4, 3, 2. All the others are fairly consistent, which was strange because in the follow-up video that I did where I put solvent in the exhaust ports, you saw number 4 had a greater leak than number 2, but number 2 is the one that's consistently high in the at the end of this spark line here. So I can't quite explain it, but I do know that the valves were all tight, and attached to this video I'm going to put the disassembled head, or I'll show the disassembled head, and you can see the valve seats, how they were somewhat burnt, not sealed, and obviously not sealing correctly. And I think that all happened because the valves were too tight, 2.5 turns. Obviously, as the valves wear and the seats wear, the valve stem will rise up against the rocker arms because it sits lower in the head. So over time they will get tighter. But 2.5 turns, I'm not sure if a half a turn is that much that it will actually that will occur on its own. I think that they were just adjusted too tight, and over time took its toll. And like I mentioned before, I only adjust them to 1.5 turns, so that when the valve does sit lower in the head, meaning closer to the rocker arm, there's still a leeway, so to speak. Anyways, I'm starting to ramble. Sorry about that. Just thought I'd show you the ignition pattern, which I mentioned earlier. Here it is, and I obviously was right in having to pull the heads, and we decided on new heads rather than send the old heads out for machining. Obviously, you saw how bad they looked, the corrosion, etc. And it ran really smooth afterwards with the 2 new heads, so I'm quite happy with the result. And the customer obviously was as well. Yes, it was a bit expensive, but it's a smooth running engine again. Thanks for watching. You can see the size of the valve seat here, the shiny part. It's actually quite shiny. So this is the good one, or reasonably well. You can see a dark spot here. So even this one was leaking a little bit. There's a shiny spot again. Big seat area. And this one, very tiny area all the way around, except for here. Again, it's a bit dull here, and that was the one that was leaking right here. And it's all due to the valves were adjusted too tight. This one, the seat is fairly shiny all the way around, but it also has a dull spot here, whereas this one has quite a bit of a dull spot. It's where the exhaust was leaking by. Again, valves were too tight. And I did slack off the valves. It didn't make a difference, so it was too late at this point. Had they been adjusted earlier, would have saved this valve from burning.